Hello and welcome to the Functional Tennis Podcast with me, your host, Fabio. Every week I speak to the big hitters in the world of tennis, both on and off the court, about the game and how we can all get 1% better every day at what we do. As an ex-national team player, I know exactly how tough this can be, so I'm on a journey to get the very best tips and advice from the world of tennis. Last week on the Functional Tennis Podcast, I spoke to lead national coach for the USTA on the West Coast, Johnny Parks. In our chat, Johnny explained why playing a young Nikolai Basilashvili was a bit of a reality check for him. We talk about Johnny's new role in the US setup and what the biggest challenge in his early coaching days was, and much more. It was a fascinating conversation, so make sure you go and check it out. This week on the podcast, I chat to coach Olivier Grignard. Olivier is a Belgian coach and was a junior pro. A decade ago, he decided to go to China to begin his coaching role and has since begun a big influence on the Asian game. He actually went there to work with Carlos Rodriguez, who we've had on the podcast, who famously coached Lina and Justin Henin, and that's where he learned so much tricks of the trade. He's co-founder of the Next Champ Academy, which is located in Beijing. He's also head coach of the Liaoning provincial team. In our conversation, Olivier tells me how his tennis story began. Olivier also tells me about his coaching role in China. We discuss some of the cultural differences between juniors in Europe and juniors in Asia. He tells us what he learned from Carlos Rodriguez and much, much more. But before all that, let's learn a bit about Olivier's background and what he does. Hi Olivier, welcome to the Functional Tennis Podcast. How are you?
Hi Fabio, I'm doing good. What about you?
Very good. Yeah, I'm very excited to have you on and to learn about your work over in China, the other part of the world, and how it compares to Europe and just how things operate over there. Really, I'm sure they're totally different and people work differently. So that's going to be really interesting. And we had Carlos Rodriguez on last year and he did a bit of work there, but we didn't talk too much in depth. I know you've been there for about 10, 12 years, is it now?
Indeed, yeah. So I worked with Carlos it was my first job actually 11 years ago. So I worked with Carlos for a little short year. And then after that, I started working for the Liaoning province team and especially with a Chinese tennis player called Lu Jiajing, who's a former WTA 163. And I work also with some juniors player, including Shu Shulin, who was number one in the world juniors, with who we won the ITF Juniors Master and few other top juniors players here in China. Yep.
Oh, wow. So I actually didn't know you worked with Carlos. I missed that part. I knew he was over there, but I didn't know you worked with him. So that's amazing. So, yeah. And so let's throw it back to the early days. And the first question I want to ask you is, where did tennis start for you? How did you get involved?
Before I used to play soccer, and then I love to play soccer, but in somehow my mother prefer tennis, and she kind of pushed me to go for tennis more than soccer. Now I start to try at the age of 12 years old. I start very late actually, and then I start to really enjoy and start from 1 hour group class with 6 kids on the court to play twice a week, 3 times and more. And then, just start to become professional tennis player at the age of 15 years old. Yeah.
And do you remember the day where you said, okay, I'm going all in here. I want to be a professional?
Yeah. Still, I was 14 and a half. I said that to my mom and father. Well, I have a very supportive mom, so she was saying, well, if it's your dream and you want to make a try, you can go ahead. My father got a bit shocked. He was like, whoa, that's something serious, I just sure you don't want to study more and everything, but at the end he supported me a lot, and I've been very fortunate that my parents pushed me for that. I still remember that I was very young. I was not good also. Maybe it was a crazy idea, I don't know, to be a pro player, because as I told you, I started to play tennis at age of 12, and suddenly 3 years after I want to be pro. It kind of doesn't make sense, but I'm always a big dreamer, so I just want to make a try, and then it was a nice experience for me.
Did you quit school?
Yeah, indeed.
So you went all in. Where were you training?
I play in Brussels in a club called, at that time, BATD, was the most famous club in Belgium, actually, where a lot of professional tennis players practice every day. I was the most bad one of the team, but I was like observing and then watching how they're doing, and then just trying to make it better, improve myself every day. Yeah.
And what did you do? We're all about being 1% better every day. So now that you mention it, what did you do every day how did you improve every day? What's your secret back then?
Well, first of all, I think learn and listen from the coach, being very humble. Well, I was very bad when I started, so like it was making sense that I should work harder than others and learn better than others to try to reach a decent level. So just practice harder and try to make it better than my classmate, I will say, my teammate. And then just try to put all concentration and dedication into my work. Yeah, that was the most important things. Yeah.
Looking back, do you think you're a bit crazy going full time after 3 years playing tennis and, dropping everything? Or were you like, that's who you are, you just go all in?
To be honest, it sounds like crazy, but also I think I did a good choice because I think I make a lot of dreams come true as a not as a tennis player, but as a coach. I was like a little boy of 12 years old before watching TV, Andre Agassi or Steffi, Graff, Jim Courier and Pete Sampras, and I always want to be in those slams and everything. And then I have the chance to make those slams with my player, make qualification at least of those slams like French Open, US Open, whatever. So I make those WTA tournaments already. So I think it was a decent choice, and I've been very fortunate to see a lot of people I used to admire and be more close with them. And I have chance to play. For me is a big thing, but play with Steffi Graff in Las Vegas. Just see my name in New York Times as well when I won the ITF Juniors Master with my player. So no, I think I'm being very very lucky, and I think I make good decisions. Yeah.
So what player? You a big Agassi fan back then? Who was the player that you tried to emulate?
Andre Agassi. Yeah.
And you met Steffi Graff. Was Agassi there as well? You played Steffi Graff. Was Agassi there as well?
I didn't play with Andre, but I have the chance to meet him because I have a mentor who Gil Reese. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, the fitness trainer.
So yes, I had the chance to make a camp with Adidas at that time with my player there in Las Vegas. So I have the chance to talk a lot with Andre and also with Steffi. And we practice with Steffi and with Gil Reese. So I have the chance to meet both of them.
And tell me, what did you learn from being around Steffi Graff? Anything that stuck out?
I will say hard work, concentration, focus on details, humility. Those people are very humble, very, very humble. So it's very impressive to see legendary player as Andre or Steffi, even like Gil Reese, who's amazing coach, to see them so kind, so humble, and they see tennis in a different way as maybe other people. So yeah.
And just going back to your days playing when you decided to go pro, what was that kept the fire burning when you decided to go pro and kept going? Was it just you want to play in slams, or what was the real dream to play tennis?
Play the slams. I want to be like top 100 in the world. Because it's a big meaning for every tennis player. I wish to make those slams, be part of the top 100, maybe more. There was some dreams.
And looking back at your tennis career, what was the biggest challenge you had to overcome?
Biggest challenge? I think just trying to make myself better every day and then try to prove to others that I was not that bad. Yeah, okay, I'm the most bad of my team, but I need to prove others like I can reach that level and become better and stronger and beat them as well. So yeah. Okay,
so that must have added a big, that's a big driving force when you just want to constantly improve and beat the people around you. Adds a bit of pressure as well, doesn't it? Because you probably got opportunities and you just got to take them when they come. And when did you decide then to hang up the rackets? When did you decide, okay, tennis isn't for me? And how did it happen?
But it was not that for me. I've been unfortunate, so I get an injury to my forearms, a very serious injury. So I just have to stop. So it was not my decisions; it was my body decisions, and then I just have to stop because that injury at that age of 19 years old. Yeah.
And did you try and rehab it for like 6 months, a year, or did you just say, I just can't play?
a very big surgeon in Paris, and but unfortunately was not successful and good enough, and I just have to stop. Yeah.
And how did you deal with that mentally? Was it tough, or did you move on quick from it?
No, it was very tough. I was kind of like very sad. Well, I won't say that depressed, but yeah, I was feeling very down. Also, as I told you earlier, I stopped school, so I was kind of lost. What should I do? I don't have any school background, university background. So, and for me, I feel very disappointed to not reaching my dream as tennis player. And mostly, I think the most difficult it was like the fact to accept that I didn't reach my limits. I just want to prove myself I could go the most far as possible. And I think I have still a good margin of progress, and I couldn't reach that level, my best versions of myself. That was the most frustrated part, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, you're only 19, like you're still growing, there's still have to get stronger. And you interestingly say, like you try to become the best version of yourself, which is, it's a good way to be, and just try and do something every day to be that version. And so how did you eventually come out of this? You say you weren't depressed, but you were down. Where did you get the energy back? How did you move into coaching? What did you do during the few years before you got serious about coaching?
Well, actually, I just randomly start to give 1 hour class or 2 hour class a week in a club, and I didn't really know what's going on and for what kind of reason. I was okay, maybe just go for a try, like get this opportunity for an hour or two, just randomly. It was not even for making money, but just wanna see and try, and then I start to feel the fire again and the passion. I was like, wow, that's cool. I really enjoy actually to see people happy at the end of the class, feel that I can help people, and that satisfactions to see the smile of your player at the end of the session, and feel that they are grateful to you because you help them. It's such a big feeling, and so that's how it goes. Yeah.
And you talked about you're a competitor, you love competing. When you started then getting into coaching, what part of coaching fueled that fire to compete in you?
Winning the tournament. and I think more than like winning the tournament, I just hate losing. So like, when you go with your players in tournament, they lose first round, second round, even a quarterfinal, you feel that sad, you feel disappointed, and I just hate that,
But let me jump in here. How do you, okay, you're the coach. Mm-hmm. As the player loses, they're going to be disappointed, but is it your job not to show great disappointment? Like, you can't get too into it, because your job also is to keep them inspired. Look, next week. So how do you balance your own, like, you're really upset that she lost, so you have to put on a brave face? Well,
I mean, first of all, I'm a very introvert person, so and I just don't like to show too much my emotion to people. So like joy, happiness, or losing, like as a tennis player, you cannot lose, you cannot like show your emotion, because the more you show your emotion, maybe you're open and know what's going on to your mind. So I always thought that you need to hide what's going on. So of course, when my player lose, I'm very disappointed, but I don't share too much my emotion, especially after the match. I think it is not very good unless the player is doing something very bad or play terrible, and then maybe we need to speak a little bit, but I still manage, I think, my emotion correctly. And then you need to take a little bit few hours to digest, to figure out like why we lose, because the point is like, you need to think why your player lost, but we are responsible for the loss of a player, right? So you need to think why your player lost, and maybe also consider why, like, I didn't do the right things or not. And then after, you can have a clear understanding of the situation, and probably give better advice to win the next round. So that's what I'm thinking.
Okay. And what about when you have a player who, you say they have to show quite a straight face, emotion. It's a bit like poker, isn't it, really? You can't give too much away, but there are times where you need to get emotional, the right times. And do you have players that sometimes aren't emotional enough? And how can you make them become a little bit more emotional?
Well, of course, sometimes you get to push them. I'm not like always quiet on the court. You need to motivate them. Sometimes you get to say, hey, wake up, what doing there. It's time to change. You could also sometime I'm maybe not very good, but you get to coach a little bit during the match, and then try to create an emotional reaction. So you could help maybe for strategy or just motivating, or it depends how the player feel. Is you get to feel also the match. You need to feel your players and the game. It's very important. Yeah.
You mentioned on-court coaching. Are you for or against on-court coaching?
Well, I think most of people are coaching during the match.
Are they?
It's just not a lie. So it's not a secret, right? So it's not overcoaching, but everybody speak. Of course, we not truly play for the player in coaching as we do during the practice, but obviously everybody's gonna say something. So you need to let your players think by their own. Of course, they are playing all alone. They need to make the right decisions by their own, but sometimes a little push is not bad, and that's okay, I think. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to Belgium. So you're coaching there, you're going well. How did the opportunity come up to move to China?
Well, my first job in China was with Carlos. So at that time, I have a friend who worked for Carlos. He was the director in Beijing. And then Carlos and he made the decisions to hire me. And I just went for the experience and learning something for a very famous and professional tennis coach. He made an amazing career with Justin. So I just took my chance. Was obviously nothing about money, because a lot of people think sometimes in China is spending a lot of money and things like that. But for me, it was not the case. I win at that time much more less than what I won in Belgium. But it was I took that as an opportunity of learning and also move on for my professional tennis career. I want to be an international tennis coach, and that was my first opportunity, and I just go for it. Yeah.
And you worked with Carlos for a year, correct?
Yeah.
What did you learn from a Grand Slam winning coach?
Well, I can see he's a great mentor. So he's very charismatic. So when he come on the court, he have this attitude, this character, and very precise, I will say, in his coaching skills. So he don't speak too much, he don't speak too less, but he always find the right words and the right actions to do to show to his player, and that's very amazing. After he have that experience with Justin Henning, that's helped him a lot, and you can learn from that. So and I have learned some strategy key point that he used a lot at the time of Justin. Yeah.
And were you missing Belgium at all after being there for a year, where you're I'm going to go back? Was the plan always to come back to Belgium, or you was just an open plan?
No. I mean, I miss my family. I miss my family. Missing my country, yes and no. But I feel just so lucky to have such a great experience, and I just want to improve myself. At that time, I couldn't really speak English. My English was terrible. So the two main reasons I moved was learning from Carlos, and then learning how to coach in English. I just want to go out of my zone in Belgium and just not coaching in France. So I was so into my job, so into my career, that I didn't really miss my country.
Okay, well, maybe the better question there was, did you miss your family?
Right, just miss my family. But also I think I've been very lucky, because I start with my pro player who was she was 900 something WTA, and then my first tournament I did with her, we won. So first ITF pro player, pro tournaments, I will say, as a coach, I just won right away. So I won. It was in Belgium at that time with that Chinese player. So I win right away that $10,000 US with her. That was amazing. And then the week after, her and her sister win another tournament. Then we went again to another final, and we keep going few 10,000 and 25Ks, and we won or reached a lot of final, 9 in the row, some stuff like that. So that I think I've been so lucky, and then I never see the time fly. So.
It amazes me Olivier didn't seem to struggle much with the move to China, with the language barriers and cultural differences. But he said something here that's really important, and it's something I've noticed across all elite sports people. They love to go outside their comfort zone. They love to challenge themselves, and they know ultimately that's where the growth is. If you have that elite mindset, then challenges like a big move, being away from your family, are less likely to faze you. Just a quick reminder, you're listening to the Functional Tennis Podcast, the podcast that helps you get 1% better every day with me, Fabio Male. Coming up on the podcast, Olivier tells me some of the cultural differences between juniors in Europe and juniors in Asia. And Olivier shares some coaching tips he's learned from his experiences in China. But first, I wanted to ask Olivier about the potential language barrier he encountered in Asia. So, you're in China, you're working with Carlos, you want to learn, you're working with a mentor, he's going to teach you how to be a great coach. You say you want to use English coaching, you want to use English, but you also have the local language there. So did you learn, is it Chinese, Mandarin? How did you pick up those skills? How did you balance all that?
Well, that's where I feel the most shame, and then the most not comfortable about it. After so many years, I don't speak Chinese at all. Yeah, I know a few words, I know a few sentences, make myself understanding for a few things. I do understand a lot of things, but my Mandarin is just terrible. So that's, yeah.
Okay, well, there's still time to work on that.
Right, but I'm very dedicated to my work. So you work very hard with your player, and then days are very long, and when you give 100%, you arrive back home, you don't really have sometimes the energy to learn something else. You just want to chill, relax, not thinking too much, and yeah.
And does your environment, you're the head coach of your province. What's your province name? I can't pronounce it.
Beijing province.
Okay, and like China's made up of all these provinces and each one has their head coach. So you're the head coach there. Are you not interacting with a lot of, parents, with some other types of people where the interaction is in local language, or it's all English?
No, so when the players play in province, they are in the sports center. So the parents not really allowed to come to see the practice. So only your leader and then the staff, and that's it. So no really issue with that. So yeah.
What's the cultural differences between juniors, let's say, and even pro players, their mentality and the cultural differences from training in Europe and training in China? What are the main differences?
I think you have to be more directive, I will say. So you need to go more straight to the point and tell them really to execute. So it's a big things. Sometimes, like Chinese citizens are super good at executing things, and they like to receive kind of like order, and you need to let them know, okay, today that. So have to be very clear and strict and executing. In Europe, you cannot be so directive. You need to go a little bit more smooth, let them learning from the mistakes. But here you cannot doing it that way. It's not working. So you got to, I think, be more pushy, more direct, and work harder. Also, sometimes I think in China, if you don't work more hard than the others, it's not a good thing. So
Do the Chinese players work harder than Europeans, the juniors, from your experience?
In China, I think work hard. They work hard in different way. They work very long time, very hard, but maybe not sometimes focus on the right point, and maybe sometimes not enough quality. So they can spend many hours to serve, but they are not serving in the right way. So sometimes it could you can learn the wrong things. So, yeah.
No, that was what I was thinking. I was like, look, we can all work hard, but how do you work hard and smart and to maximize? Because if you're out there hitting hundreds of serves doing the wrong thing, thousands of serves, you're only going to pick up an injury. That's like hard and stupid.
This is the biggest struggle here sometimes with your player, also dealing with parents or leader. Tennis is still a new sport here, so they still don't have this experience as we have in Europe, and you need to explain them to change and sometimes slow down, or maybe practice less but more concentrate. So they not sometimes really understand, so you need to fight for that. But they always, if you show them, you make result that at the end of the day it is still very good. So
yeah. So how do you convince them to, don't overtrain, or if you are going to train a lot, it's got to be really smart? Apart from, I know the results come in the future, but how do you convince them that, look, we got to change it up here a little bit? You're spending too much time on court doing the wrong thing.
I think you first, you need to show you won't help them. You need to build up that trust. with people here. So China is a very competitive country. So we have billions of people here, and you need to build up that trust. You need to show them you want them to be good. So I think the best way is show you work hard. You are dynamic. You push them. They want to feel you are behind them. And when I always think when you push and then you help and you do the right thing, sooner or later you're gonna have result. Then the trust build up. Then you can ask them to change things. Yeah.
If you do that in Europe, you're doing the complete opposite, aren't you? You're like, the parents are phoning you, stop pushing my kids so hard, blah, blah, blah.
It's challenging because I see after 11 years so many top level coach and so many foreigners coach here. They cannot stay very long time here in China because they not adjust themselves to the Chinese culture. And yes, they think the right things. The point they see clear, but they cannot adjust themselves to the Chinese market, and that's create some conflict sometimes. Yes.
And what advice do you have so far? Okay, you've been working in China for so long, working with these players. What advice do you have for coaches in Europe that could make them a better coach based on what you've learned in China?
First of all, I think go out of the comfortable zone. Don't think as you know everything, and don't think like we are foreigners, we know more tennis than others. It's kind of like you need to reset yourself and just start as a blank page. So don't come here in China to push people like to do right the way what you think is right. So you need to being very, I will say, humble. I think it's very important to try to understand very quick Chinese culture. Try to understand local people. Don't think because we know something they should adjust themselves to you. You should integrate yourself to the society, and then after make people understanding how to change. Yeah. I think what I've learned in China, don't think you are good because there is always someone more good than you here because too many people. So don't take for granted the results. Always think you might have someone like do better than you, and you need to keep pushing yourself every day.
Competition, we know for tennis players is important, getting the mix between tennis training and competing. You got to get the balance right. How do you ensure your athletes are getting enough competition?
That's the biggest problem here. If you speak about China, they don't make enough, I think, local tournaments, especially for the kids. Like I will say until 18 years old, they don't compete enough. They should compete more. So here there is a struggle. I think the best way for a Chinese player, they need to go overseas to compete the most as possible. Because here for Chinese player, they tend to be very in the comfortable zone here. So everything is nice and smooth sometimes and very well managed, like tournaments and like infrastructure and coaching in their province. Everything is safe and comfortable. They need to compete more overseas.
You mentioned earlier about, you try to be the best version of yourself every day, which is amazing. How do you instill those values in your players?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. I think it's all about like when you enjoy competitions, right? So once you start to lose or winning, you can spread the message. You can like say to your player what you want them to achieve if they really want to improve and getting better. I think because competitions. Yeah.
Well, maybe the question I should ask also is how do you make them accountable?
So you need to reflect the message that you want to spread. So for example, like if I'm not coming motivated on the court, if I'm coming late, if I'm not professional or just not showing how much I want to be good with my player, I don't think your player also gonna be motivated. So very random example, if I come late for 20 minutes every day, at the end of the journey, your player also gonna be late and he gonna reflect your own personality of coach. So you just need to lead as an example. I think is very important.
It's not all about forehand technique. It's about building these life values.
Indeed, life value, but also it's matter about, I guess, techniques and tactics and mindset. There's more than that. So it's special.
I know, it's amazing. And ultimately winning. It all comes down to win. If you're not winning at the end of, you give it so much time.
I find the right way still to be successful because, the highest ranking I've reached with my player is 163. So I still think maybe I do some mistakes and I should learn more and maybe change something. Yeah.
How do you assess your own coaching career? You say the highest player, 163. How do you say, okay, I want to get the next player. We want to do some stuff to get you to top 100. And you're part of that journey as well. So you have to improve or change things up. How do you reflect on that? And how do you learn to change things up?
Right. I figure out through the years at the end, well, first you need to learn, have, a very good coaching education. I've been very fortunate in Belgium. We have a very good coaching system. So I think I have those very good fundamental about methodology and biomechanics. So I've been quite good. So I've been lucky to learn in the right way because the national team of Belgium make a very good job. And then two, I think you learn from your experience. Obviously, you travel, you win, you lose. You learn from your loss and you win. So that's another things. And last things, I think surround yourself with the right people. Try to learn from everyone. I think you can learn from a very beginner coach, but also step by step, more you want to go high. I think it's important to surround yourself with very good coach and at least communicate time to time with them. And if you have some question, just don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to be an idiot and just ask whatever you can ask to learn and getting better. Yeah.
Too often we're afraid to be the idiot asking that stupid question that other people are thinking as well. You're not the only one thinking.
I don't know.
Yeah. And what is they say? We're the average of the 5 people we most surround ourselves with.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, time we are very shy. I realized that at the first we see all those great coach or great player and we think they are so amazing. So we shy to make a step further to them. But actually, the more they are successful, I think the more they are humble, the more they understand your journey and they are willing to help. So they are very generous. For example, I still remember when I talked with Sasha, the coach of Pliskova and Serena Osaka. I mean, I feel very shy. I knew who he was, but then we have a dinner at WTA, and he was super friendly and very enthusiastic, and he shared a lot of things. Same for Gil Rees. He's amazing, and they are so kind, so generous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we did have Sasha Beijing on the podcast, so if any of our listeners can look through the archives, it was under a year ago. We had him on. Great episode. So really interesting chap, and it's worth a listen. And we talk about being your best version of yourself every day, and we're all about being 1% better every day. What advice do you have for coaches and tennis players? You may have a different answer for both of them to be 1% better every day.
I think never take for granted the fact you make progress. Always trying to looking for improve something. That I think it's very important, and try to stay humble, keep learning. That's very important. Yeah.
Nice. No, true. And quickly, I skipped over. I should have. But today, you've set up your own academy, your own tennis coaching structure. Tell us more about that. What exactly have you set up?
Yeah, so we have with my partners, we have 3 little tennis school. So we open 3 little schools here in Beijing. We start very small business and it's growing a little bit more every day. Just the simple idea, we just want to share our experience to every kind of tennis level, from beginner, amateur, some professional as well. We have every kind of program, but we just want to try to share our experience and way of teaching to everyone.
It's great having you on, Olivier. Thank you very much, and best of luck in your continued success in China.
Thank you so much, Fabio. It was a pleasure to talk with you today. Thank you so much.
That's the end of the show for today. I think a lot of coaches will listen to today's episode and see the value of challenging themselves in Asia, which will only make the European and global game stronger. So thank you so much, Olivier, for coming on the show. And thank you all for listening to the show. I really appreciate it. Just a few quick notes before we go. Make sure to follow the show so you get automatically notified about new episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to learn more about me or the work we do at Functional Tennis, visit our website at functionaltennis.com. You can also follow the show on Instagram at the Functional Tennis Podcast and with me on Twitter, FabMall. This podcast is produced by One Fine Play. James Bishop is the executive producer. Connor Foley is the series producer. I've been your host, Fabio Molly. Thanks for listening to the Functional Tennis Podcast.